I don't move boxes, I manage the cold. That is the pitch I gave people at parties, but let's be real. Most people see a warehouse and think it is just a big room with shelves. They see cardboard, I see a bomb, a very expensive, very temperamental bomb. We stored millions of doses here. Vaccines, high-grade pharmaceuticals, stuff that costs more than your life. My badge said senior grid architect. Fancy words. It just meant I was the woman keeping the ice from melting. I spent 9 years building the brain of this place. We called it Frostbite. It was my baby. My code controlled the massive cooling turbines on the roof. My code kept the deep freeze at a perfect -80. If I did my job, nobody noticed. If I failed, $80 million turned into lukewarm garbage in 4 hours. For 9 years, we never lost a crate. Then the founder retired. The old guard left. And the vultures came in. Corporate called it a new management team. I called it a firing squad. First came Director Sterling. Sterling lived in Excel. He thought the map was the territory. He never stepped foot on the concrete floor. He didn't care about physics. He cared about velocity. But Sterling was just the suit. The real problem was his hired gun. Julian, 29 years old. MBA soft hands. He was the efficiency guru. He wore Italian suits to a warehouse in July. He had never written a line of code in his life, but he had opinions. And he had this habit, this maddening, awful habit. He carried a heavy, gold-plated Zippo lighter. He didn't smoke, he just held it like a fidget spinner for sociopaths. Click, clack, he did it whenever he was bored. He did it whenever he thought he was the smartest person in the room, which was always Tuesday morning. Conference room B2C was humming, but I was sweating. Julian was staring at the wall. My code was up there, the safety protocols. Click, clack. He pointed a laser at line 402. This right here, Julian said. The spin-down cycle, why is it 3 minutes? I sat up. That is the thermal release, Julian. Turbines get hot, really hot. Physics dictates they need a break. 3 minutes an hour or the bearings seize up. Julian smirked. He looked at Sterling, then back at me. He had that look. The one that says he thinks I'm being emotional. Click, clack. So, he said, his voice dripped with that consulting school arrogance. You are telling me that we are paying these machines to sleep for 3 minutes every hour? I tried to keep my voice level. It is not sleeping, it is preventing an explosion, it is physics. Julian shook his head. No, it looks like laziness, it looks like legacy thinking. We need velocity, we need those turbines running 24/7. He snapped the lighter shut. Clack. I want you to delete those 3 minutes, he said. I stared at him. If I do that, the system will break. It's not an if, it is a when. Sterling checked his watch. I don't pay you for can't, he said. I pay you to modernize, make it happen. For the next 3 weeks, my life was hell. Julian didn't just want the code changed. He wanted to break me. He took my safety protocols as a personal insult. He scheduled optimization sprints at 7 a.m. glass walls, whiteboards. He drew arrows going up. He wrote words like synergy. He wrote unlocking potential. He never wrote the word safety. See this gap? He asked one morning. He tapped the board. Frostbite is running at 85%. That is failure. We need 100%. Actually, we need 110%. I sipped my lukewarm coffee. I was exhausted. Julian, I said, it is a machine, not a sales team. You can't motivate a compressor to hustle. If you run it at 110, the lines freeze, the pipes burst. Julian smiled. A cold, empty thing. Click, clack. That is fear talking, he said. You are scared of the envelope. You are comfortable with mediocrity. I am comfortable with not blowing up the warehouse, I snapped. Sterling looked up from his phone. He barely spoke in these meetings, but he always picked the wrong side. Watch your tone, Sterling said. Julian is here to help us grow. Take notes. I clamped my mouth shut. There was no point. They didn't want to understand the system. They just wanted the numbers to go up, even if it killed the engine. The war started in the inbox. Julian realized he couldn't change the code himself. He didn't have the admin keys. I did. I was the only one with root access to Frostbite, so he had to make me do it. He sent the email at 4:55 p.m. on a Thursday. Subject, immediate deployment override. The body of the email was red text, bold, underlined. Per our discussion, please disable the spin-down cycle immediately to increase throughput by 12%. This is a priority 1 directive. I stared at the screen. He was trying to create a paper trail. He wanted it on record that he gave the order, so if I said no, it was insubordination. If I said yes and it blew up, well, I was the one who pressed the button. I didn't reply immediately. I printed the email. I forwarded it to my private server. Then I typed my response. Julian, removing the thermal safety limit voids the warranty on the turbine array. It also violates FDA compliance regarding stable storage. I cannot execute this command without written liability waivers from the manufacturer and the legal department. I hit send. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. It wasn't Julian. It was Sandra from HR. Kate, she said. Her voice was too cheerful. Can you pop into the conference room? We just want to have a quick sync. A quick sync. On a Friday afternoon, that is corporate code for an execution. I walked into the room. The air conditioner was blasting, but the room felt stifling. Julian was there, Sterling was there, and Sandra was sitting at the head of the table, smiling the kind of smile a shark gives you before it takes a leg. Have a seat, Kate, Sandra said. I sat. Julian was leaning back in his chair, feet crossed at the ankles. He was holding that gold lighter. Click, clack. Kate, Sterling started. We feel like there is a friction, a resistance to the new direction. I am not resisting direction, I said. I am resisting physics. You are asking me to melt the inventory. Julian sat up. See, that right there, that represents a negative attitude. We are trying to be agile. You are throwing up roadblocks. Sandra slid a piece of paper across the table. It was heavy stock. Performance Improvement Plan. We are putting you on a PIP, Kate, she said. We need to see a shift in mindset. Specifically, we need you to execute the optimization directives given by Julian. If you don't, she trailed off. She didn't have to finish the sentence. I looked at the paper. It was a list of impossible demands. Reduce cooling costs by 20%. Increase cycle uptime to 100%. It was a confession of incompetence and they wanted me to sign it. I looked at Julian. He was smirking. He knew he had me. If I signed it, I was agreeing to destroy the system. If I didn't, I was fired for insubordination. You have two choices, Sterling said. Sign the PIP and get on board, or we can discuss a separation package. Option B, Julian interrupted, is for quitters. Are you a quitter, Kate? Click, clack. I looked at the lighter. Then I looked at the server room through the glass wall. The lights on the server rack were blinking steady green. Healthy. Safe. If I left, they would have the keys. They would give the keys to some junior tech who would do whatever Julian said. And then, catastrophe, but looking at their faces, the arrogance, the stupidity, I realized something. They didn't want to save money. They wanted to be right. They were willing to burn $50 million just to prove they were the alpha dogs. I felt a strange calm wash over me, the kind of calm you get right before a car crash. There is a third option, I said. Sterling frowned. There is no third option. Yes, there is, I said. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my ID badge. I placed it on the table. Right on top of the PIP, I resign, I said. Effective immediately. The room went silent. The air conditioner hummed. You can't do that, Julian stammered. The smirk vanished. We need a 2-week transition. You have to hand over the keys. I stood up. I don't have to do anything. I am an at-will employee. And since you've made it clear that my safety concerns are negative attitude, I don't feel safe working here. I turned to the door. Wait, Sterling yelled. The admin passwords, you can't just leave. I stopped with my hand on the doorknob. The passwords are in the safe, I lied. Good luck with the optimization. I walked out. I didn't go to my desk. I didn't pack my box. I walked straight to the elevator. I was free. But as I walked to my car, I checked my watch. 4:30 p.m. they had the keys. Well, they had the physical keys to the server room. They didn't have the digital keys yet, but they would crack it. It would take IT about an hour to reset the admin root, which meant Julian would have control by 5:30 p.m. I sat in my car. I didn't start the engine. I just watched the building. I knew exactly what Julian was going to do. He was going to prove he was right. He was going to turn off the safety limits the second he got in. And I knew exactly what was going to happen 90 minutes later. I paused at the door. I shouldn't have said anything. I should have just walked. But the engineer in me, the part of me that spent 9 years babysitting those turbines, I couldn't help it. I turned back to Julian. Reference? I laughed. It was a dry, hollow sound. I don't want your reference, Julian. I want to be 3 miles away when the laws of thermodynamics kick your door down. Julian rolled his eyes. He was already back in his bubble. He was checking his cuticles. He looked bored. Are you done? He asked. We have work to do. I looked at him, really looked at him. He wasn't a boss. He was a toddler playing with a hand grenade. One last thing, I said. Free advice, since I won't be here to fix it. Sterling looked up. He looked nervous. Watch the manifold pressure gauge, I said. If it hits 180, the coolant is boiling. You have 90 seconds, not 91. 90. If you don't vent the system in 90 seconds, the seals blow. And then, I made an explosion motion with my hands. Poof! Julian sneered. Get out. I walked out. The hallway was quiet. I passed the break room. I passed the pictures of the company picnic from 3 years ago, back when the job made sense. I walked out the front doors and the heat hit me. July in the city, 90 degrees. The air smelled like exhaust and freedom. I got in my car. I threw my badge on the passenger seat. I didn't turn on the radio. I just listened to the engine. My engine, a reliable combustion engine that wasn't about to melt because I knew how to change the oil. I drove. I didn't go home. I went to Patty's. It was a greasy spoon diner about 4 miles down the road. It was 4:45 p.m. too late for lunch, too early for dinner. Perfect. I slid into a booth in the back. The vinyl was cracked. The table was sticky. It was beautiful. Coffee? The waitress asked. Her name was Barb. She had been working there since the dawn of time. Coffee, I said. And the meatloaf, extra gravy? Celebration? She asked. Something like that, I said. I checked my watch. 4:55 p.m. back at the office, IT would be resetting the admin route. They would be sweating. Julian would be standing over them, tapping his foot. Click, clack. 5:05 p.m. the coffee arrived. It was hot. Black. By now, Julian had the password. He was logging in. He was seeing the safety warning pop up. The one I wrote, the one that said, "Warning, disabling thermal cycling will cause catastrophic failure." He was clicking ignore. He was clicking delete. 5:15 p.m. the meatloaf arrived. I took a bite. It was salty. By now, the spin-down cycle was gone. The turbines were roaring. They were ramping up to 100%. Julian was probably high-fiving Sterling. He was looking at the dashboard, seeing the efficiency graph spike. "Look at that line go up," he was probably shouting. "We are printing money?" 5:30 p.m. I ordered a slice of pie. Cherry. The turbines had been running at max capacity for 15 minutes now. The bearings were getting warm. The lubricant was starting to thin out. The vibration was starting, just a hum at first, a little shake in the floorboards, but Julian wouldn't notice. He was in the conference room. He was looking at the spreadsheets. He wasn't walking the floor. 5:45 p.m. I paid the bill. I left a $20 tip. The manifold pressure was climbing. 150, 160. The coolant was expanding. The pipes were groaning. The safety valves were trying to open, but Julian had disabled the command. The system was screaming for help and the computer was mute. My phone rang. It was loud in the quiet diner. I looked at the screen. Sterling. I let it ring. It rang again, and again, then it stopped. Then a text came through. "Pick up. Emergency." I smiled. I took a sip of my water. 180 psi boom. My phone rang again. I wiped my mouth with a napkin. I picked it up. "Hello? Kate." It wasn't a voice, it was a scream. Sterling sounded like he was being strangled. In the background, I heard it. The klaxon, weep, weep, weep. That was the Tier 1 alarm. That meant the ambient temperature had breached the critical threshold. "Oh, hi Sterling," I said. "How is the optimization going?" "It's melting." "God, Kate, it's melting." The turbines seized, all 4 of them. We have smoke in the mechanical room. I leaned back in the booth. "That sounds like a physics problem, Sterling. Remember, the spin-down cycle? Turbines get hot, bearings expand, friction." "Fix it," he screamed. "Just come back and fix it." "I can't," I said. "I resigned. Remember, I don't have the keys, and honestly, I don't have the motivation. I was just about to order dessert." There was a scuffle on the other end. Then Julian's voice came on. He wasn't arrogant anymore. He sounded small. "Kate," he said, "please. We can't log in. The admin route is locked out. The system is in manual override, but we don't know the manual codes." "Of course you don't," I said, "because you never walked the floor." "What do you want?" Julian asked, desperation. "We'll give you a raise, 10%, I laughed. "I don't want a job, Julian. I'm a consultant now, and consultants are expensive." "Name your price," Sterling yelled from the background. $500 an hour, I said. "Minimum 40 hours, paid up front. And I want Arthur to sign off on it." Arthur was the chairman of the board, the big boss. If Arthur found out, they were dead. "We can't call Arthur," Sterling cried. "Then I guess you better start buying ice," I said. "Lots of ice. You have about 40 minutes before the vaccines spoil." I hung up. I counted to 10. 1, 2, 3. The phone rang. "Okay," Sterling shouted. "Okay, Arthur is on the line. He authorized it. Just get here." "Text me the contract," I said. "And the confirmation number for the wire transfer." 2 minutes later, my phone pinged. The money was there, $20,000. I stood up. I left another 20 for Barb. "Keep the change," I said. "I have to go save the world." The drive back was short. As I pulled into the lot, it looked like a disaster movie. Fire trucks were already there, red lights flashing against the gray warehouse walls. Steam was venting from the roof in massive white plumes. I parked my car in my old spot. I walked to the loading dock. Sterling was pacing in circles. He was sweating through his shirt. Julian was sitting on a crate, head in his hands, and there, on the concrete next to him, was the gold Zippo lighter. Abandoned, he wasn't clicking it anymore. "Kate!" Sterling ran over to me. He tried to grab my arm. I stepped back. "Don't touch the talent," I said. I walked past them. I walked into the building. The heat was noticeable immediately. It was usually a crisp 60 degrees in the loading bay. Now it felt like a swamp. I walked to the server room. The glass door was locked. "Open it," I said. Julian fumbled with his keycard. His hands were shaking so bad he dropped it twice. He finally got the green light. I walked in. The server fans were screaming, trying to cool down the CPS. The main dashboard was a wall of red text. Critical failure. Turbine 1 seized. Turbine 2 seized. Turbine 3 overheat. I sat in my chair. It was still warm. "Okay," I said. "Everyone shut up. I need silence." I cracked my knuckles. I pulled up the command line. I typed, "Sudo kill all dash force." The screen went black. "What did you do?" Julian gasped. "You turned it off. The fans stopped." "Reboot," I said. "Hard reset. It's the only way to clear your stupid override command." We waited. 10 seconds. 20 seconds. The silence was heavy. Then the screen flickered. The Frostbite logo appeared. A little blue snowflake. I typed, restore_checkpoint_backup_07_01. Restoring from yesterday, I muttered to myself. Before the optimization happened. Enter admin password. I typed it in. ColdSnap99! Access granted. I hit enter. From deep in the building, a low rumble started. It wasn't the screaming whine of overstressed metal. It was a deep, rhythmic thrum. Turbine 4 was coming online. Then Turbine 3. I watched the temperature gauge. It hovered at -40, dangerous but stable. Then, slowly, the numbers started to drop. -41, -42. "We are back online," I said. I spun the chair around. "Now," I said, "who wants to tell me why you tried to blow up my warehouse?" The door opened. It wasn't security. It was Arthur, the chairman. He was 70 years old. He built this place with a shovel and a loan. He looked at the red lights fading on the dashboard. He looked at the sweating managers. Then he looked at me. "Status?" Arthur asked. His voice was gravel. "Stabilized," I said. "Core temp is dropping. No inventory lost. But the turbines took a beating. You'll need to replace the bearings on Unit 3. Arthur nodded. He turned to Julian. Julian was already standing up, fixing his tie. He was trying to find his smile. "Arthur," Julian said. "Glad you're here. We had a minor hiccup during the implementation phase. But as you can see, we handled it. Agile response, pivot and adapt." Arthur stared at him. "A hiccup?" "Yes," Julian said. "We were stress testing the legacy hardware to find the breaking points." Arthur walked over to the desk. He picked up the gold Zippo lighter. He weighed it in his hand. "You turned off the safety protocols," Arthur said. "Kate told you the physics. You ignored the physics." "Kate is risk-averse," Julian argued. "She's stuck in the past. I was trying to get you velocity." "You almost cost me $50 million, Arthur said. He tossed the lighter into the trash can. Clunk. "Get out," Arthur said. "But get out. If I see you on this property in 5 minutes, I'm calling the cops for industrial sabotage." Julian turned pale. He grabbed his briefcase. He didn't look at me. He ran. Sterling stepped forward. "Arthur, I save it," Arthur said. "You're not fired, Sterling. You're too expensive to fire right now. You're reassigned." "Reassigned?" Sterling asked, hopeful. "The loading dock needs a supervisor," Arthur said. "Night shift. 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Wear a coat. It gets cold back there." Sterling slumped. He walked out. The room was quiet, just the hum of the servers. Arthur reached into his jacket. He pulled out a checkbook. He wrote quickly. He tore the check out and slid it across the desk. 40 hours, Arthur said. 500 an hour. Plus a nuisance fee. I looked at the check. $25,000. "Thank you, Arthur," I said, "but I'm still not coming back." Arthur sighed. He rubbed his eyes. "I know, I wouldn't come back either if I were you." I shook his hand. I picked up my box. I walked out to the parking lot. The sun was setting. The air was cooling down. I could hear the hum of the facility behind me. It was a steady, rhythmic thrum, the sound of a system working exactly the way it was designed to. I got into my car. I didn't look back. I didn't take a vacation. 2 days later, I was sitting in a corner office at Cold Storage Inc., their biggest competitor. The VP of operations was showing me their grid. He was nervous. He knew my reputation. He put a slide on the screen. It showed the safety protocols. "These are the hard limits," the VP said. "We treat them like religious law. We never ever cross them because, well, physics wins every time." I smiled. I leaned back in my new leather chair. "Yes," I said, "it certainly does."